Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the 2026 Oregon Gubernatorial Debate. It is fantastic to have you with us tonight, whether you're live in the studio or you're watching and live streaming right now. So great to be here, and I think that most of us are here because we would like to see Oregon move in a new direction. And that means we're looking for the next person, the next leader, the person who could be the future governor to get the job done. Yeah. And that's why I'm honored to be your moderator tonight. My name is Bruce Sussman, and I'll be guiding us through some of the questions that we have this evening, but I'm not working alone.
Yes, it's a team effort.
Definitely.
I'm going to keep you posted. I'm Angela. I'm with PDX Real. I'm going to be asking the specific questions tonight.
Yep, sounds great.
And keeping people from being rowdy.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on the audience, right? For sure.
Or them.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, it's great to have you all with us. And just so you know, as we get started, the candidates who are on the stage tonight had to meet certain qualifications. They had to raise $100,000 or more for their campaign, and they had to have at least $250 in individual donations. So that means every candidate on the stage tonight has a core group of supporters who are here. And with that, let's introduce tonight's candidates. First of all, she is a state senator, former Oregon House Minority Leader from 2019 to 2021, and again in 2025. She was the GOP nominee for governor in 2022. Let's welcome Christine Drazan. And next, he is a state representative. He's an entrepreneur who co-founded and sold 2 different businesses. Let's welcome Ed Diehl.
Let's add that Ed Diehl is also a representative of the House and the legislature.
Oh, yes. Did I forget to say that? Yes, I did. State representative. That's the first thing on my list. All right. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Representative Diehl. Yeah.
All right. Next up, she is a Marion County Commissioner. She's the former executive director of the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce. She's also a small business owner. Let's welcome Danielle Bethell.
Marion County Commissioner Danielle Bethell. Thanks for being here.
Yes. And next up, our wealth management executive, a former Portland Trailblazer, and the 2010 GOP nominee for governor, Chris Dudley. Well, as you can tell, we've got a lively crowd in the house tonight and audience. We appreciate your enthusiasm. As we go through this evening, Angela and I want to ask you to just hold your applause until we get to the end of each section that we're going to be covering tonight. That will just make it easy for everybody to get their fair time and be heard on the live stream, which, of course, is crucial. All right, it's time to go to our first question and category. And we have a series of categories, actually, that we'll go through in just a moment. But first, we want to start with some opening statements. And before the debate started tonight, we did a drawing to see who would go first. In this case, it is Christine Drazan. So Christine, would you start us off? And we have a question specifically for each of you. This is the question. If you are elected governor, what is your vision for what Oregon can be? What is your vision for what Oregon can be? Christine, welcome and start us off.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. You know, I am a lifelong Oregonian. I was born in Klamath Falls, and I'm a proud Oregonian. My vision for the future of our state really is pretty straightforward and simple. I believe Oregon can be the best place in the nation to live again, to raise your family, to start a business, to get a world-class education. That can be our home again. But to get there, we have got to lower taxes. To get there, we have got to return local control. To get there, we have got to restore accountability. I believe very strongly that the future of our state is in our hands this election cycle. As House Republican leader, last session, I led the fight to defeat Tina Kotek's $15 billion tax increase. I led the walkout to stop cap and trade and to defend your Second Amendment rights. I have worked to secure our elections. I absolutely will fire agency heads that are incompetent and inept. I will audit state government. The future of our state can once again be extraordinary within the state of Oregon. But to get that done, we are going to have to ensure that Tina Kotek is a one-term governor. And I'm telling you tonight that I am the one that can get that done. I am ready to lead. I am ready to serve as your next governor. As governor, I will put Oregonians first. I will stand with you and fight with you every step of the way. I am here to serve you and put you first and ensure that the Democrat machine that has putting Oregonians last is in fact done. It's time to veto bad ideas, it's time to balance budgets, it's time to serve the people. We can do that together, and I am here tonight to ask for your vote and your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your opening statement. Now to Chris Dudley. What is your vision for what Oregon can be?
Well, I fell in love with Oregon and my wife over 30 years ago. And it's a beautiful state. The beauty, the people, the pride of this state made me fall in love. And I'm asked, why are you running for governor after a successful basketball career, after a successful business career? And the answer is pretty simple, because Oregon's at a tipping point. Our leaders have failed us. Salem has failed us. We are at such a place now that we cannot continue to go down this path for another 4 years. And I'm here to say that we have to do better. And I believe that we need an outsider to come in, that the politicians in Salem are not getting the job done. They've had their chance to turn our state around, and they haven't done it. It's our time to turn it around. We need a rebound. We need to recover from where we are and chart a different path, and we can do so. While the problems are substantial, when you look at it, whether it's that we're 50th in education for fourth grade testing, or that we're 47th in job creation, or whether we're number one in illness, mental illness and drug addiction, there are solutions, and we have to focus on these solutions and get things done. I will restore our schools, get back to fundamentals, get back to the science of reading, restore our schools, add accountability. I will open Oregon up for business immediately. We have to embrace businesses and entrepreneurs to create jobs, to grow our economy, to do good things. We have to cut taxes for the dollars you earn, for the houses you live in, for the gas that we put in our tanks. And I want to do all those things, and we have to do those things for the future of our children. And I'm running because my kids are sixth-generation Oregonians, and I want better for my family, and I want better for your family, and we need someone from the outside to get that done.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, next up is Commissioner Bethell.
Thank you. So I'm a fifth-generation Oregonian, a two-time small business owner, currently own a plumbing company with my husband today, and I'm a sitting Marion County Commissioner, as you heard. And I can tell you that my vision for Oregon is the one that I grew up with. The barefoot summers when I could go run to the ice cream store up the road and walk back with my friends to the playground safely. Where my mom had opportunity, even though she was challenged in life, to be able to find security within her communities and her neighborhood. My vision for Oregon is affordable, accessible, transparent, and safe. It means that anybody in any community, regardless of urban, rural, or frontier, is seen and heard and delivered from its systems of government from the bottom up, not the top down. I have been fighting as a county commissioner for 6 years to be acknowledged by the governor and the legislature as a partner in making outcomes happen for Oregonians, whether that's for the economy, behavioral health, public safety, solid waste, transportation. Pick a topic that is overseen in the governor's office, and I have the honor of trying to perform that today as a county commissioner, but am completely stunted by the overreach of politics at the state level. It is past time that Oregonians have a seat at every single table and that it's balanced. It's not run from the Portland perspective. I agree, we don't need an insider from Salem, but I do believe that we need somebody that understands the systems succinctly, to understand when you come in on day one exactly why agencies are failing and why they're making poor choices, the statutory role that they're supposed to fill and that they're not fulfilling, and exactly what partnership looks like. I yearn for the opportunity to represent Oregonians in a space of thriving instead of surviving. I grew up in deep poverty. I navigated homelessness. My mom had a severe mental illness and an addiction issue. I survived all the way through that today to be a Marion County Commissioner because I believe in showing up for Oregonians. I believe in what it is to truly fight with truth and transparency for the people in front of me. This isn't about politics. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and now to Representative Diehl.
Thank you. It's great to be here. First, I want to shout out for my wife there, Jamie. She's my rock, and we are in this together. And I would ask my colleagues up here to join me after the primary for a unity breakfast, to come together in solidarity for whoever comes out of here and is our Republican nominee. This is our time, and we have to come together. I led the no tax referendum to show all of Oregon, and all Oregonians that there is hope, that we can take back our state, that there is a hope that our government can be accountable, that our way of life can be affordable, and that we can have a thriving economy, not just for ourselves, but for our kids and our grandkids. And we can have a governor who represents the people instead of the narrow, extreme special interests. You know, my vision for Oregon is pretty simple. We have the most beautiful state in the country. We do. But I want an Oregon that is the greatest place to live, to work, to raise a family, and retire in a place where your kids and grandkids don't have to leave to find a better job. I spent my career, before entering the legislature, in engineering and business. I solved some of the country's most difficult manufacturing challenges. I'm a problem solver, and I deliver results. And that is what I'm determined to do as your next governor. I'm bringing that same determination, that same fighting spirit that I used in that referendum. I'm proving what I can do. I proved it with that referendum, and we're proving it again because we're bringing the disconnect bill to the voters as well. That one's going to stay in November. They're not going to be able to move that. That's the way I'm going to approach being a governor, and I look forward to the rest of this debate. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, now to some specific topics this evening. We have 5 topics that we'd like to cover during the debate. The first is education. Then we're going to look at housing and homelessness. That'll be followed by business and industry. We'll go to forestry and the environment, and then we'll wrap it up with community safety. So I think there's a lot of topics for a lot of us across Oregon that we're concerned with. And we're going to start with education. And so, Angela, I'm going to throw it over to you to ask our first question tonight.
Good list.
It is.
I believe, Mr. Dudley, Chris Dudley, this is going to be your question first. We're just going to move through that list that you guys drew. This one's on education. Today, Governor Kotek signed an executive order on education. Oregon ranks 48th in reading and 47th in math nationally. What specifically would you do to change these outcomes, and how would you measure that success?
Thank you, and appreciate the topic and appreciate the question. This is something I'm passionate about. I come from a family of educators. I've talked about education throughout my careers, and I believe passionately that the education of today is your economy of tomorrow, and we've got problems. For 4th grade testing, we're actually 50th right now, and I feel like sometimes I have to remind people that there's only 50 states, and it should bother us. It should bother all of us that we are dead last. On day 1, when I become governor, I will announce a state of emergency to address education. This is disastrous. We have to fix this situation. As it sits right now, over 40% of Oregon high school graduates need remedial classes when they go to college. That is unacceptable. As I've traveled the state, and we've gone over 8,000 miles over the last 8 weeks. We've done town halls, meet and greets, roundtables in all 36 counties. And I've heard from teachers, I've heard from parents, I've heard from administrators. And they're all frustrated by the situation. I would implement this science, and the good news is here, there are solutions. Other states have had great success. Mississippi, for example, went from 47th to 1st in reading. And they did so by focusing on the science of reading. getting back to the basics, the fundamentals, phonics, and also adding accountability. It is so important that we get accountability throughout our school system, and it's something that has to change and has to change quickly. It will be a top priority for me, and we owe it to our kids, and we need to do much better. And it's a failure, and it's a shame that Salem, the governor, the legislator has let us get to this place. It's unacceptable, and it's something I will change immediately when I get into office. Thank you.
Okay, and just a reminder to hold your applause between comments if you would, and go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, they can't help it.
Yeah, there you go.
Ms. Danielle Bethell, this one is about housing.
I think we're all in.
Oh, excuse me. Do you want me to read the education
Nope.
question to you again? Okay, excuse me. Thank
No
you.
worries. I mean, I'll take housing and education if you want.
Housing is next. so
Together.
stand by.
Great. Okay. I'm ready for that too. So I was on the Salem-Keizer School Board for almost 4 years. And for those of you that have heard the narrative that I left because I was scared, it's far from it. I actually left the school board early because my husband and I achieved one of our lifelong dreams of purchasing property. And we were seeking active exit from one of the wokest school districts in the state for our children to survive in life. I can tell you firsthand, as sitting on the second largest school board, the disaster that education is statewide. We have school boards for a reason, and they are underutilized and disrespected in every single jurisdiction across the state. As governor, I'm going to do some pretty drastic things. I'm going to upend the entire Board of Education. I don't believe that there's a single person there today that actually represents parents in this state. I'm going to focus on the two top leaders of education. If you don't know who they are, they're in the news right now because on Tuesday, they presented the most ridiculous plan possible to the media that they were delivering today to the Oregon Board of Education around how it's going to take 12 years, an entire generation, to right the wrongs of education in this state. It's the most absurd thing I've read in a really long time. I'm going to return local control. We're going to focus on phonics and comprehension. And the governor, and I'm sure most of you know this, is the superintendent of education. I don't believe that is the right thing, but for a while it's going to have to be because anybody as a Republican that gets elected better take on education as a #1 priority. We deserve it and our kids deserve it. In addition to that, I'm going to fast track the legislation that was passed recently to return accountability to schools by tracking outcomes. Dollars should be tied to outcomes, and if schools are underperforming, we shouldn't allow them to set the bar low so that way they can barely achieve. We should want to incentivize them to set the bar high and then support them to excel. Not only can kids rise to the occasion, so can educators. Teachers deserve to have their classrooms back. In addition to supporting him in that, I will make sure behavioral health is run by counties and not schools in a partnership method. Thank you.
Representative Diehl.
So everybody knows our education system is an embarrassment. I mean, we're ranking near the bottom in everything you think about, but we're expending near the top. For me, it's pretty straightforward. We focus on accountability, discipline, and excellence in our schools. We have to reinstitute testing standards. We have to reinstitute truancy enforcement. We don't enforce truancy. The legislature is concerned about truancy. We have some of the highest absenteeism rates in the country, so we decide to study truancy. No, I think we should enforce truancy and hold parents and teachers accountable for that. It's not complicated. And if Mississippi figured this out, we can figure it out. The governor is the superintendent of public education, and the Board of Education is going to look a whole lot different when I'm governor. I guarantee that. We will direct money into the classroom instead of into administrative overhead. And you know what? I've talked to a lot of teachers who do not agree with their own union leadership. And they are as upset and frustrated as we are about the outcomes and their ability to just control discipline in their own classrooms. I'm committed to those teachers, so I don't want them to leave. We're losing great teachers. I want them to stay in the school system. And you know, I went through public school. My wife did. Our kids did. I want an amazing, robust public school system. But I also understand that we need school choice. I've sponsored legislation to bring education savings accounts to the state. I was a chief petitioner on a petition for education savings accounts. H.R. 1 has the ability, that bill, there's an opportunity for the state to take that kind of control and set up school grant accounts to defer some of your federal tax dollars. Tina Kotek has opted not to do that. I will do that. Thank you.
Next question.
No, you can just Christine.
Christine.
Thank you. You know, where to start here? I absolutely have had legislation that would address a lot of these challenges already. So let's walk through some of the things that are in my record on education. I had legislation which would have required that a student learns to read in 3rd grade. Can we all just agree that kids should learn by the time they're in the 3rd grade, and if they don't know how to read, that we keep them there until they do? It seems pretty straightforward and uncomplicated to me. My legislation also would have restored graduation requirements. Right now, our diploma is a participation trophy. Our diploma needs to mean something again, and it doesn't today. We also have to let teachers be the ones to make determinations for how to keep their classroom safe and how to focus on learning in the classroom. I had legislation which would allow teachers to remove disruptive students rather than doing room clears. 1 in 4 teachers says that they feel unsafe in their classroom. That is crazy to me. How can we possibly be expecting kids to be able to learn when their classroom environments don't feel safe? Absenteeism is a huge problem. We absolutely have to go after that. We have to take truancy seriously. But I want to be clear about this. Tina Kotek set this whole thing on fire. And now she issued an executive order today with a little thimble full of water, like she's going to be the one to put it out. It's ridiculous. She's the one that linked arms with Kate Brown to shut down our schools longer than anywhere else in the nation. I was a Republican leader during those days, fighting for schools to be reopened. My own daughter suffered during that COVID period, and we got her in private schools as quickly as we possibly could because our school district wasn't reopening and our kids were suffering. Parents need school choice. Kids cannot be anchored to a school that's not serving them. We have to have public schools that are strong, but parents need to be able to direct where their kids go to get the best possible education for their futures. We need to commit to get politics out of the classroom, and by the way, we've got to get politics off of our sports fields. No more boys and girls sports, no more men and girls locker rooms.
Okay, now you can applaud all the candidates. There we go. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for all of your comments. And next we're going to move to housing and homelessness, which, as we know, both big issues. And as we start that topic, I do want to say thank you to the Oregon Realtors and Home Builders for helping underwrite the cost of tonight's debate. So, Angela, with that, over to you.
Miss Danielle Bethell, owning a home is increasingly out of reach for everyday Oregonians. At the same time, Oregon ranks near the bottom nationally for housing production. What specific steps would you take as governor to remove the bureaucratic barriers, red tape, that are slowing new home construction across the state and to help make housing more affordable?
I'm sure this is going to be a shock to everybody, but local control matters. At the end of the day, you have counties, 36 of them across the state, each land use authorities, each of them responsible for infrastructure and permitting and all the things that we need to have thriving communities and economies. But it turns out that the state of Oregon is in our way on a second-by-second basis. It seems like the governor and the legislature just go and create more and more agencies to prevent us from doing anything good in the communities across Oregon. So specifically, I'm going to come hard and fast for those state agencies to either go away or stay in their lanes. We have a compression issue when it comes to overregulation. It starts at the top and it runs to the bottom. And if you don't have good local leaders, then you're not going to get good local outcomes. We have to invest in our local communities. The Department of Land Conservation and Development, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of Energy are 3 agencies specifically that make it almost unattainable for anybody that's not a millionaire to be able to purchase a brand new home. Those 3 agencies are so far outside their scope creep, their statutory authority, I'm going to rein them in. It's a requirement by law that they do certain things, but they don't all need to exist. The Department of Environmental Quality doesn't even have to exist under Oregon law and or federal law because we have the EPA. we can reduce several different agencies at the state level and push responsibility back into the communities. In addition to that, we have an infrastructure desert across this state. There's not a single jurisdiction in Oregon right now, ask a city councilor or a mayor, that has the resources right now to be able to help with the affordability of housing. The legislature needs to act. The governor needs to make a plan, a thoughtful one, about whose responsibility it is to make sure that we can have housing come online and make those strategic, prioritized investments. We have developers all across this state ready to go right now, but they don't want to hit go because they don't want to put the cost of that on the back of the homeowner coming forward. Thank you.
Representative Diehl?
So a lot of the challenges we have with housing construction, at first, we're going to build Oregon homes with Oregon timber, number one, all right? But a lot of the problems we have with housing are with agencies that are out of control and agencies that are no longer representing the best interests of Oregonians. And that's what happens when you have 40 years of one-party governance. They are no longer accountable. As your next governor, I'm going to go through agency by agency and change leadership in that agency and refocus them on their core mission. I want these agencies to be the agencies of yes instead of no. How do I help get projects done? How do I help progress? How do I help people get into homes and create good jobs? That is what we should expect from our agencies. That requires leadership at the agency level. And when I talk leadership, I'm thinking about, like I had in my business, people who can do a deep dive into each one of these agencies and look for the waste and look for the fraud and look for misalignment of mission and fix it. We don't have leaders like that in our agencies right now. For housing, yes, part of it is a land use problem. We need to expand available land for building. There's things we can do with, for example, deferring system development charges till the end of the project, reducing the cost stack. A lot of that is due to regulations. Permitting. If anybody's tried to build anything in this state, you know what I'm talking about. Permitting is ridiculous. I want to have some permitting transparency, a dashboard, set timelines for permitting. If you miss the timeline, you will not be paying the fee. But more importantly, if there's projects that are delayed due to permits or regulations, those projects land on my desk as governor and they get resolved. Other states do that. Oregon does not do that. I will take an active role in making sure that we progress and our agencies are working in the best interest of the Oregon people to build Oregon homes.
Next person, Ms. Christine Drazan.
Thank you. I say quite a bit lately, you shouldn't need a permit to get a permit. But that's kind of what it feels like when I talk to business owners. Their experience of trying to get projects off the ground is delay, 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 one agency after another. In this last legislative session, the realtors brought forward legislation that was shot clock legislation, that was, progress, and we have to make progress everywhere we can. But what we have to focus on is we've got to reduce the regulatory burden, period, across all sectors, in particularly across the housing sector, but we've got to reduce the regulatory burden. We talk all the time about the process to adopt rules. The rulemaking process is everywhere. We need a rulemaking process to repeal rules, to post for public comment and start to get some of these things off the books. If it isn't specific to safety, why are we doing it? Why are we adding this burden on businesses? And I would say in some cases local governments are extraordinary and we need local governments to be in charge, and in some cases local governments are the problem. And they're out there with their hand out and their hand in your pocket and they're slowing things down and they're driving up costs. We have got to address SDCs. We have got to figure out a way at a state level to recognize what our priorities are and invest in infrastructure. It's one thing to put the SDCs costs at the end of the project. It's another thing to make sure that those SDCs don't stop that project from happening. We have got to, across the board, recognize that Oregon is the problem. We are an anti-business state. Our taxes are too high. Taxes in Oregon on businesses alone went up 77% since 2019, almost double since 2019. It's amazing to me that anyone can afford a home in this environment. We have got to wrap our hands around not just the timing of these permits, but the pace at which the regulatory environment is crushing all businesses, and we've got to address land use. I talk all the time about how important it is to bring people together and have that conversation, but we can't talk housing unless we also talk land use.
Thank you. Mr. Dudley.
Yes, housing affordability is a huge issue in our state, and it's something, affordability as a whole is a huge issue. And it pains me that over half our state, over half of Oregonians are living month to month. And I understand what that's like. I remember that as young, growing up, living with my mom, and the car breaks down. How do you afford it? What do you cut back on? And too many Oregonians are facing that issue right now. One of the components, of course, is housing. And the key components there are land costs and permitting time. I've talked to developers, builders across our state, and by the time you buy the land and go through the permitting process, it already costs more than the median household can afford before they've even broken ground. That's unacceptable. We have to do better at providing more land, but we also have to reduce the permitting time. And that's what happens when you don't have economic background in the governor's office. We haven't had a governor with a business background in over 40 years, and it shows. And we need that badly. And it's apparent when they don't understand that what used to take, of talking to a builder in Redmond, what used to take 18 days to get approved now takes a year and a half. There's the time cost value of money. There's the reasons, the costs that those add. And we have to address that. We have to streamline the process. And it seems like every time Governor Kotek makes something a priority, it gets worse. Right? Housing, homelessness, drugs, schools, everything she's prioritized has gotten worse. We need somebody from the outside in the governor's office that actually understands economics, that will do things to turn it around, that will replace agency heads, that will look at different things. As governor, you have the power of appointment, which is a huge power. We have over 300 boards and commissions in our states. We have to make replacements. We have to get people who actually understand the business that they're regulating on those boards and commissions, and it has to be done right away.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Representative Ed Diehl, this is a follow-up question under housing and homelessness about homelessness. Oregon has one of the highest rates of unsheltered, it says homelessness, not houselessness. Isn't that great? Sorry. In the country. As governor, what concrete, measurable actions would you take in your first year to reduce the number of Oregonians living without shelter?
Thanks for that. And I'm glad you separated housing from homelessness, because they really are two different issues. Yeah. And on the housing piece, our governor seems like her solution is to create a bunch of tiny apartments that are subsidized. That's her solution. I want people to be able to buy their own homes with a yard, so my kids can buy a home with a yard that my grandkids can play in. That is the kind of housing I want, attainable homes. But when it comes to unsheltered homelessness, this is a different issue. I've toured these homeless encampments. I've talked to the people who are in the camps and people who have left the camps, been freed from these camps. And I've talked to people who've treated folks here. 99% of the people that are chronically unsheltered are suffering from drug addiction and or mental illness. You have to accept that. My solution is to return cities the ability to enforce their own camping prohibitions on public land. That's repealing House Bill 3115. The state took that ability away. You have to do that. And in simple terms, what happens is you have law enforcement and a social worker go out, and you tell them, hey, we have basic shelter here with requirements. We have mental health treatment. We have substance use treatment. We have other services to help you get right and be productive citizens, but you cannot camp here anymore. You cannot camp here anymore. That gives them an incentive. They go get treatment, they leave and move along, or do they go to jail? That is the compassionate thing to do. That is compassionate for them and compassionate for the communities that are suffering with this. I know businesses like Sheridan Fruit Company, who's closed because of the homeless situation. We also have to acknowledge that some folks are not ever going to be capable of helping themselves. They need to be able to get in a place so they can be helped. We need to modernize our civil commitment laws to allow that to happen and get them the help they desperately need. That's the compassionate thing to do, not leave them in squalor in the streets. That is gross neglect. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Drazan.
Thank you. You know, we have seen under Tina Kotek's leadership, homelessness increased 35% since she's been governor. That's incredible failure. There's no other way to look at that. Today, more than 27,000 individuals are homeless across the streets of Oregon. That's about equivalent to the number of people that live in the city of Tualatin. Wrap your head around that. That's crazy, isn't it? We have to get to the point where homelessness is rare and temporary, not chronic and permanent. For far too long, our leaders have been feeding the machine. And the homeless nonprofit industrial complex has continued to expand and grow homelessness across our state. We need to demand accountability for the people that are receiving those dollars. I went to an event this morning with the Portland Chamber where they had folks that were on a panel to talk about recovery and to talk about the state of homelessness across the city. And I can give you this word of hope from that meeting. Across the board, they said what we need in our system to address the challenges for the people that are on our streets is accountability, because the vast majority of the people on our streets are facing addiction. For the people that are not facing addiction, we have housing for them, we really do. We have a system which is not exactly efficient. I'm not going to go so far as to say corrupt, but it's not getting people into housing, but the housing exists. The accountability measures that we don't have today. Today, the state of Oregon's definition of recovery doesn't even include the word sober. Today, Oregon's definition of what we're doing for housing is 80% low barrier, which means come and do drugs here, 20% sober. It should be the opposite of that. If we believe in people, if we want to help them live their best lives, if we want to help them get clean, we have to reject Tina Kotek's approach that is housing first. It is absolutely leaving people behind. It is allowing people to die on our streets. We need a governor that will prioritize ending homelessness as we know it, and I will do that.
Chris Dudley.
Well, the housing first model has not worked. Shelter is a part of it, but it's not the end all be all. We have to do better. Obviously, when someone is mentally ill or drug addicted and you put them into a new apartment, it shouldn't be shocking to anybody that it's not working. And we have to change this. And the first step is prevention. We have to get the drugs, and I call poison, the things that you do once, twice, 3 times, and they either kill you or do such damage that it takes years to recover. We have to get that off our streets. We have to get it. We have to crack down on fentanyl, tranq, other drugs such as that. It should not be allowed in the state of Oregon to do what we're doing. And this has become personal to me. I've been in Old Town probably 10, 12 times, Wallace Park in Salem, Dirt World in Redmond, and spent lots of time with homeless. And it's become personal in that as I get to know someone there, I got to know a young man named Zach and get to know his story and how he got there. And then a week later, he's dead from an overdose on fentanyl. Or then I'm out in Boardman and I'm giving a talk, and afterwards a lady comes up to me and said, you know what, it's just not in the cities. And I know that. But she says, it's not just in the cities. My grandchild died last week from an overdose on fentanyl. Thought she was smoking marijuana. This has to be a true emergency, and we have to focus on it. We have to get that off our streets. And I should not be able to walk, as I've done, walk down Broadway in Portland at 10 o'clock on a Monday and watch a drug deal go down. I'm literally walking down the street and I see somebody on a bike with a boombox on the back, and he's literally waking up. He's going by people who are lying on the streets to wake them up. That is unacceptable. It's like the ice cream truck, but it's a drug dealer. We have to change that. And I would invite the governor and all the legislatures to take a walk, literally a mile from the Capitol building, take a walk to Wallace Park. It's like Mad Max down there. They need to spend time there and see what's happening and what the policies and the lack of seriousness about this issue is doing to our state. Thank you.
Commissioner Bethell.
I wasn't sure if you wanted to introduce me again or if I just jump right into the subject that
Go for it.
Whatever you want.
Probably the far most expert on this stage about, if I'm just going to be totally direct. And I want to give a shout out to Commissioner Ben West from Clackamas County, who's in the audience and a direct peer of mine in this work. Marion County and Clackamas County are the 2 leading counties in the state of Oregon that are tackling this issue face on. Want to talk about Wallace Marine Park? I can tell you the number of people by name that I've walked across the Marion Street Bridge into sobriety and into recovery and to stabilization. The Oregon Housing and Community Services Department, the Department of Human Services, and the Oregon Health Authority are directly causing this problem. OHCS has been the biggest cash cow in Governor Kotek's tenure. Every single emergency order she has written has gone into their bank account, and they have designed this system, what I refer to as the right to fail. I do not believe anybody has the right to fail. I don't care what your issue is. And there's not just 2 issues here, there's 3. We have a combination of mental illness, addiction, and cognitive disability. There are many, many people living on the streets today that have an intellectual or developmental disability that they did not get when they were a child, therefore they were not diagnosed and entered into services. Maybe they have a brain injury that occurred from a car accident, or maybe they were a football player and something bad happened. They are not being served today. There is no system in this state right now to help a family stabilize with their vulnerable family members. Not only do I have lived experience about this, but as a county commissioner, I work on this every single day. I have designed programs that are scalable statewide. If you want to talk about those resources on the streets, come to Marion County. I have 5 of them. Every single thing that Rep. Diehl said has happened under my leadership as a county commissioner in Marion County. This is solvable. It's based on policy and expectations, measuring outcomes, tying dollars to contracts, and holding people accountable, and understanding the language in those systems. As governor, when you say, I want this done, you can walk in the room and understand how the agency designed it and hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for all your thoughtful responses on that topic. Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, you've obviously put a lot of thought into this, and you can hear it coming through tonight, can't you? That's wonderful. All right, we're moving to our next topic area now, and that is business and industry. So we're talking about jobs, basically, right? The economy. And so I'd like to thank Emert International for helping underwrite the cost of tonight's debate, and I want to turn it over to Angela for our specific questions on this topic.
Thank you, Terry. All right. This is going to be for Senator Drazan. Oregon's business climate has seen significant employers leave or scale back operations in recent years. What specific policy changes would you pursue to attract and retain good-paying jobs in Oregon?
Yeah, this is critically important to everything else we're talking about tonight. We don't have public services in a stable state unless we have a strong and growing economy. That means we have got to stop being anti-business. We have got to start to say, thank you for being here. What do you need to grow? Please do not grow your business in Nevada or Arizona or Idaho or anywhere else. We want you to grow here. We want you to stay here. And so we have got to lower taxes. I mean, Tina Kotek, it's clear that it's election year, right? She just announced that she suddenly recognizes that our economy is in the toilet. So we've got a Prosperity Council that's been announced, and the Prosperity Council is summarily ignored when Tina chooses to sign the disconnect bill and raise taxes on businesses by $311 million. That is just one of offense after offense where she continues to communicate to businesses that they don't matter, she takes them for granted, and all she wants is their money. The CAT tax has got to be reformed or eliminated. Those are our options there. The CAT tax is a commercial activities tax. For those that aren't aware of it, Oregon actually has a sales tax. It's just called something else. And it is not, in fact, delivering improved outcomes in our schools, but it is crushing our businesses and driving affordability problems for all Oregonians. We've got to address the CAT tax. I talked a little bit earlier about the regulatory environment. We've got to roll back rules and regulations that are making people, I talked to a business owner the other day. He said that he has to have 6 people on staff just to manage the regulatory side of his business. Not just HR, but all of the people that are interacting with the permitting processes and everything for his business. Those are not people that are advancing, making sure he can sell more goods to his clients. That's just more business expense, and that's the state that's doing that. We have to be business friendly, we have to lower taxes, and we have to say thank you for being here. How can we help you grow?
Thank you. Mr. Dudley.
Well, as I've traveled the state, I've heard many times across the state that Oregon has gone from business unfriendly to adversarial. And businesses feel that they're actually butting heads, and they are butting heads with the government. As I mentioned earlier, those up to 300 boards and commissions, we need different people in those places. On day one, I will start making choices. On day one as governor, I will say Oregon is open for business. We have to change the attitude in our state. We cannot afford the services we need if we don't have a growing economy. And we've gotten to a place in Oregon where we've accepted a stagnant to shrinking economic pie, and we're trying to take a greater and greater tax slice out of that shrinking pie. It does not work. We have to be in a place where we're growing that pie and having a smaller tax slice. We have to reduce those taxes. The governor started, a week before announcing a re-election, starts a prosperity council. The timing was, interesting to say the least, but it's such what's the first thing that what's the first thing that comes from legislature? They disconnect from the federal tax bills. It's SB 1507, which is just devastating to businesses. And it's crushing it's taking away our bonus deductions. It's crushing small business. And I don't think she even understood what QSBS is and what the impact it has for small business. We have to embrace businesses, embrace entrepreneurs. And I am so concerned if I travel the state, I can't tell you how many businesses told me that their new additions, their new investments were out of state or they were considering leaving the state. In fact, they said, if you don't get elected governor, if we don't have somebody here who understands business, we're going to be leaving this state. We are at a crisis point. We have to turn it around, and we have to turn it around now. And that's why we need somebody, an outsider, who actually has an economic background to run our state. It has never been more crucial than it is now.
Commissioner Bethell.
Thank you. So I just wrote down this list really quick because there's not enough time in 2 minutes to answer this question. So I'm going to say taxes, regulation, insurance, workforce, goods and materials, cost of labor, paid leave Oregon, land use challenges, urban growth boundaries, and licensure. All of those things combined are why we can't operate a business in this state for profit. I own a plumbing company. 35% increase in 4 years just on cost of goods. And then they added paid leave Oregon on. Turns out I have to hold a position when somebody goes on leave and I have to pay 2 people. I can't do it under this economy, and I know that plumbers are a shortage. It turns out licensure and access is a problem. Business Oregon is supposed to be the economic engine of this state. What are they doing? They need to be reformed entirely. They don't need to be a grant handout agency of taxpayer dollars. They should be an organization that provides planning and incentives for businesses to thrive. Marion County is the only county in the state of Oregon that actually provides a rural tax exemption incentive to businesses who work there and grow there. We have big businesses that stay in Marion County, specifically in rural communities, because when they want to create better jobs and double the size of their business, we allow them to have a tax reprieve for 3 years. Why isn't every single county in the state doing that? Why isn't the state replicating that? Because we don't have anybody in leadership that understands the concept of business. We need somebody in the Bureau of Labor and Industries that understands you have to maintain insurance agencies here so there's a competitive market, not a monopoly. There are so many issues in this space that we need somebody in office that not only understands business, but understands the government, that can come in and just eradicate all the regulation and ridiculousness. It's an obvious that we get rid of the cat tax and that we look at every single sector of business and the over-regulation and taxation that they have and just cut straight through it. We have a compression of issues between the state and the counties and the cities across this state, and nobody is marching in the same direction. We need a leader that will call them out and hold them accountable to do just that.
Excellent. Representative Ed Diehl.
Thank you. As your governor, I will make sure that a business owner, his first call from a sitting governor is not the governor of Texas. It's the governor of Oregon. And I'm saying that because that is exactly what's happening right now. I was down talking to Pavati Boats in White City, and they are trying to expand their business and facing a lot of challenges. They have been unable to get an audience with Cotec, but they have businesses recruiting them from Texas. And then they have the governor, Greg Abbott, from Texas, talking to him. And I'm sorry to report that 2 days ago I heard back from Pavati, and they told me via email that they've decided to move their business to Texas. That is unacceptable. I believe I'm the only one on this stage that has built a business from scratch in Oregon. I sold a car.
I mean, I'm literally sitting here right next to you.
Okay, maybe not. All right.
There you go again.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I sold a car. I leveraged my credit cards. I put everything I had on the line to build this thing. I built it up to 100 employees, solving manufacturing challenges all around the country. I know what it's like to build a business, and I know what it's like for Oregonians to go through this and the challenges that these businesses have. We need an Oregon governor that understands that understands it intimately, and will focus on that. And we talked about taxes. We have the hidden sales tax, the cat tax. I'm calling for the full elimination of the cat tax. That is a dismal tax on businesses. I'm also calling for, we have a governor going around doing a prosperity roadmap while she's passing, clawing back $300 and some million of taxes that were part of the disconnect bill. I'm referring that to voters. She signed it last week. I'm referring it to voters now. We're going to get that on the ballot for November. We're going to reduce our taxes, reduce our regulations, and get Oregon back to business.
Okay, yes. So for the next question, we're running a little behind, so we're going to make it a 1-minute answer on the next question. So let's see how concise you can be. Angela, go ahead.
All right. Small business. So this is, Chris, this is Mr. Dudley, this is for you. Small businesses are the backbone of communities like Hillsborough, where we're at. What is your plan to reduce the regulatory and tax burden on small business owners while maintaining worker protections and environmental standards? And specifically, can you name a specific tax you would like to eliminate?
Well, I know an executive order I'd like to eliminate, which is the CPP, get rid of the climate. That is such an ill-conceived, badly designed, and yet another example of lack of economic awareness, and that's the Climate Protection Plan, where our rates are going to be 5 times that as California. It's basically a $5 billion tax, and it's going to be unregulated and going to nonprofits. That's just another example of the complete unawareness of what's going on with business and how to create an environment where business can thrive. And the governor, again, to get back to the Prosperity Council, outsourcing that. As governor, I will be the chief prosperity officer. That's something you don't hand out. And as governor, I will recruit businesses from other states and work to keep the businesses here. I visited Pavati as well. I can tell you, I could name off 5 other businesses that are being recruited by other governors right now, from South Dakota, Arizona, Texas, across the board, where they're personally calling them. And yet we're not even calling our biggest businesses. We're not working, let alone our small businesses. As governor, that's something we have to embrace. And we have to get to a place where we understand economics and accept that we need growth in this state to have the services we want.
Thank you.
Would you repeat the question?
Yeah. Small businesses are the backbone of communities like here in Hillsborough. What is your plan to reduce the regulatory and tax burden on small business owners while maintaining worker protections and environmental standards? And can you name a specific tax you'd like to eliminate?
Well, I can name 2, the cat tax and the commercial property tax. So as a county commissioner, we're the tax collectors, and I can tell you it's not an equal opportunity tax for any commercial business anywhere in Oregon. I don't care if you're in Hillsborough or in Salem. And it's not equally collected. We shouldn't be taxing things that we don't actively measure accountability on and can chase. It's like if you own a business, you know what it is. Like if you drive a dry cleaner, we're taxing the tools and equipment inside. If you own a plumbing company, or we're taxing you on the pipes that you have or the materials that go in the houses. It's difficult to regulate. Assessors can't do it. It doesn't generate enough revenue for counties to worry about, and it should just go away. It's a huge burden. As far as employee protection, I think that we have specific agencies that are supposed to do their jobs, like Bureau of Labor and Industries, that is failing across the board, that needs a complete overhaul. They've got a lot of bureaucrats that sit in a building downtown Salem, and they're not in the communities listening to workers and employees and understanding what their challenges are. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about the shorter question.
You did better
We're
than
testing
Chris.
you guys. We're testing you.
Representative Ed Diehl.
For small business, I mean, a lot of it is also with the cat tax, eliminating the hidden sales tax, cat tax. Also, we have executive orders that I would reverse. When I look at some of the executive orders we've done in the name of climate, I'm looking for what is the return on those? We have increased our energy costs and our fuel costs exorbitantly for very little, if any, return on the climate. I would eliminate the CPP, the Climate Protection Plan, which, guys, you haven't even felt that one yet. It's coming. It's big. I would eliminate the Clean Fuels Program as well. That is raising costs for utilities and energy on every consumer and every small business. We have laws in place that make it very difficult to bring on employees for small businesses. We need to reform those laws. So that's just a sampling of many of the things that we need to do to get small business back and moving in the state.
Senator Drazan?
So many small businesses actually pay the personal income tax rates. Like, we're talking a lot about the cat tax, which is meaningful, but small businesses are the backbone of Oregon, and they're not all manufacturers. I wish we had a stronger manufacturing section in our state. We've lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs in the last year. But the reality is lowering taxes for everyone also benefits a majority of small businesses. The opportunity to take another look at our actual personal income tax rates and make us less aggressive. Do you guys realize that there was just a recent study done by Wallet Hub that said that Oregonians pay among the highest tax burden of any state in the nation personally? Small businesses, almost all of them are paying these personal income tax rates. We need to provide additional deductibility for them. We need to expedite their interactions with government, so time is money. So we need a more efficient, effective government. But we need to lower income tax rates for everyone, and that will also benefit small businesses.
Okay, thank you, candidates. And audience, you can respond. Excellent. All right, it's time to move to our next topic now. And at this point, we're going to be talking about forestry and the environment. These are both huge issues to a lot of Oregonians. And we'd like to thank the Merlot Corporation for helping underwrite the cost of tonight's debate. Now, Angela, over to you.
Yay! Oregon, so this is, Danielle, this is going to be you. Yeah? Okay. Oregon's forests are at the center of competing interests, timber industry jobs, wildfire risk, and habitat preservation. How would you balance the economic needs of rural communities with responsible forest management?
Well, we should just cut trees. So currently right now, as a sitting county commissioner, I have the opportunity to work with every county in Oregon, but the 17 timber counties directly, Marion County is one of them. And yes, Clackamas County too, sir. And I have spent time already over the last 6 years fighting the federal administration and more actively participating with the current administration to start harvesting timber. Marion County and Curry County in the next 18 months will be the first two counties to receive a stewardship agreement from the United States Forest Service to start harvesting timber in our rural communities. We have the opportunity to do it. I understand the rules and regulations around the Endangered Species Act and the Habitat Conservation Plan, which I will tell you county commissioners have shelved under this administration, and we hope to not see it return. We need to not just cut trees, we need to have sustainable jobs in these communities. And we have deserts right now in some of our most frontier communities because of the hindrance of the Endangered Species Act. Recently, I learned about a policy from the Department of Fish and Wildlife that allows us as local leaders to be able to petition into these environments to suggest where the species is and isn't. You'd think that this would just be commonplace and people would be actively doing it, but it's been buried in federal policy for far too long. We need to have local leaders that understand where money can come from, and it certainly is our trees. It's also our waterways along the coastal regions. We don't just have trees in our economy. We have lots of fish that we can go after and other crustacean type species that we should be promoting as a source of workforce and stabilization in our economy. And again, the Endangered Species Act is the largest challenge in that space. I wish I didn't understand it as much as I do, but it's important for the thriving community that I support right now as a county commissioner. Every single timber county in this state should have a stewardship agreement. Every single county in this state should make sure that they have proper workforce and industry to stabilize and harvest that timber. We need government to be our partner. Those sale agreements can't be done on the backs of some of these small organizations. Thank you.
Representative Diehl?
No, Oregon sits on a bounty of natural resources. We are a very wealthy state when it comes to natural resources. And our agencies and our governor have chosen to lock those up. We're letting our forests burn instead of harvesting them. And I think that's an outrage. I grew up on a cattle ranch. My dad was a logger. One grandpa was a sawmiller. The other grandpa was a forest ranger. So I'm kind of passionate about this issue, and I spent a lot of my career working in the wood products industry. We can quadruple our harvest rates and not quite meet sustainable harvesting levels. We can do that and create beautiful forests that don't burn, and create jobs for rural communities and revenue for our schools and police and fire safety in our rural communities. This is a win-win-win for Oregon. Our policies have starved our rural communities, and now they come begging to the state for money. I think it's an outrage. We can change it with smart policy. It's not just with timberlands, though. It's mineral resources. It's grazing lands. Do you guys know that we sit on a wealth of lithium in this state? A wealth of lithium. It's on the border of Oregon and Nevada. Nevada is mining that lithium. 900 jobs on the Nevada side. Nothing going on the Oregon side. That should outrage us. And we're doing it. Why are we doing it? In the name of the climate. While we go get the lithium from foreign adversaries and countries that have no environmental standards and use slave labor. That should outrage us too. Oregon should take advantage of our amazing natural resources that provides wealth for rural communities, wealth frankly for the entire state. I want to build Oregon homes with Oregon timber. Let's bring it back.
Senator Drazan.
Thank you. I mentioned I'm from Klamath Falls. That also means that my parents were raised there. And when I was growing up, my dad worked in the mills outside town there. And it affected my family when those mills closed. It meant years of unemployment when our community was left behind because environmental interests ruled the day. And I lived that. And I know the effect that it has on families when rural communities are left behind. It is beyond time for us to recognize that Oregon's natural beauty is also an asset, and that we can commit to our conservation values and manage these forests in a way that maintains them and supports local communities, supports schools, supports local services, and also assures us all that we will be harvesting sustainably and appropriately, and that we won't just watch those forests burn. That's the crazy thing to me about this conversation. I know it's controversial for some, but what they are really doing is they're saying that they would rather watch those forests burn than allow for someone to rationally, reasonably, responsibly harvest carefully and manage those lands. We cannot allow that to continue. You know, in these most recent wildfire seasons that we have had more emissions from wildfires than we have from a year of downtown Portland traffic. What are we doing? We have to manage these forests. I think it's an incredible opportunity right now to work with the federal administration across our state and all these counties, including the one I'm from in Clackamas County, to be able to manage these forests more actively.
As we've discussed, right now we're in a lose, lose, lose. We've lost the jobs, we've lost the counties for the revenues, and I would argue it's a loser environmentally as well. And we have to change that back into a win-win-win and embrace the natural resources we have in this great state. Too often we get in that either-or conversation. It doesn't have to be either-or. You can harvest, you can manage the forest, and you can protect the environment. You can do both. And it's a shame when I've traveled the state and talked across our state, so much of the state feels unrepresented and left out. They're frustrated by not having the revenues that they were promised in the ONC counties in other areas. Whether it's fishing, farming, or forestry, we need to embrace our natural resources, let people work the environment responsibly. When somebody's been there, a 5th generation forester or farmer or fisherman, they want to take care of the environment. They want to make it they of course want it sustainable to pass it on to the next generation. And we've lost our way there. As governor, one of the biggest powers you have is the power of the pulpit, to be able to bridge those divides, to talk about what's happening in rural Oregon and explain it to urban Oregon. And it's something that's been lost. It's when I'm down in Coos Bay talking to Southport Timber, and they're telling me they're having to bring logs from British Columbia. That's crazy. We have to change that. And then when I come back and I'm talking to a group in Portland, and a lady tells me, well, I don't think we should cut down any trees. And then I go down and start explaining to her, how we're mismanaging it and the environmental costs. And and eventually she agrees. And that's the bridge we need somebody to be able to bridge that gap. Environmentally, I'm seeing every summer, I live in Sisters, in Central Oregon, every summer we're seeing this. Last summer we had a fire come 3/4 of a mile to our house. We're firsthand seeing what the mismanagement of our forests are doing right now, environmentally and costing jobs. And as governor, I will change that.
Okay, and our next question will be 1 minute answer for the next question. Thank you.
This is going to be for Representative Diehl to begin. Wildfire risk and smoke have become a year-round concern for Oregonians across the state. We're talking about that right now. What is your plan to reduce the wildfire risk through forest management, community preparedness, and state agency coordination?
Well, first off, when a fire starts, put it out. When a fire starts, put it out. That's number one. Eliminate the fuels in the forest lands. Eliminate the fuels. That means sustainable harvesting. We've talked about that. There's also technologies available that are implemented in California, some of it's implemented in Oregon, that we can put throughout the forest that allow us to monitor and spot active fires much quicker than we do right now. But to me, the number one thing is you have to actively manage your forests. And if you do that, you have healthy forests that don't burn, you have jobs, you have revenue for your rural communities. That's the number one thing.
Senator Christine Drazan.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Put the fires out. But also, let's be clear, on state lands, which isn't the majority here in our state, it's federal, we put the fires out. The Oregon Department of Forestry actually is very effective at putting the fires out on state lands. It's our federal partners that watch it burn. And that's the smoke that we're seeing. Those are the fires that spread. Those are the issues. Private landowners put the fires out. State landowners put the fires out. It's the feds that need to change their bad practices and start to put these fires out. I would also say it's really incredibly important that the state doesn't mandate costs onto families within the wildland-urban interface. I led the fight to repeal the wildfire maps that placed an undue burden on families that were in parts of our state where the state was dictating to them, and they suddenly were in a risk area that they didn't believe they could sell their home. They certainly couldn't afford the mandates that were coming their way for what kind of siding and roofing they were going to have to do. The state has to work collectively and collaboratively with Oregonians, not mandate these things down their throats.
Thank you. Mr. Dudley.
We have to manage our forests, have to do such a better job of that. And as I said, as governor, I will make sure that we do a better job of that. And I'd like to give a shout out to the firefighters. I saw it firsthand last summer, the way they dove in and prevented damage to the houses in the area and across our state. They're having to do too much. They're having to do way too much. There's just every single summer now we're having catastrophic wildfires. And we have to do a better job of managing that. And as governor, as I said, it's with the power of the pulpit, it's bringing people together. It's bringing that understanding that, again, it's not an either or, but it's coming together and saying we have to take advantage of what we have here and prevent these fires from happening, the catastrophic fires every summer. And doing so will be a top priority of mine to make sure that we are taking advantage of what we have there and preventing this, which I would argue, again, has been environmentally the worst for our state. And if we're going to actually take environmental and conservation and climate protection seriously, we have to embrace managing our forests in a better manner.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the next question.
I didn't get to answer the question.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I think I've
Okay.
done that to you twice tonight.
I will advocate for
it's
myself.
It's totally
No
not
worries.
personal.
That was the first time, actually. I think you're okay. You're good.
No, you're fine.
It was another time.
You're fine.
Okay.
I got you. All right. So there's this plan called the Good Neighbor Agreement. It's the federal plan that Senator Drazan was referring to. Counties are not participants in it because the state thinks that they're responsible for everything, but it turns out they fail at everything. So counties right now are leading the narrative at the federal level to be written into that. Marion County is leading that initiative. I'm actually doing that work today. In addition to that, this will be a shocker to all of you, I'm certain, but in the spring of 2025, for the first time in Oregon's history, the Department of Aviation of all agencies convened the first ever state agency collective response team for wildfire response with Oregon State Fire Marshal, OEM, DHS, Department of Forestry, and aviation led it. We need to have a governor that understands what these agencies are supposed to do and put a plan in place and make them do it. It's not that complicated. Yes, money is required. We have this term called COOP plans in government, and they're always sitting on a shelf in someone's basement, and it's never deployed because nobody ever understands what they are. Get it off the shelf and put it into action.
Okay, thank you, candidates, for your response.
We're getting some instruction.
Okay, yes, great. So at this point, we would like to go to our closing statements for today. And actually, I want to ask one other question before we do. Let's ask the first question of the next category.
Sure.
Because we don't want to pass it up. It's very, very important. So this is going to be our final question, and we're going to talk about community safety, because I don't want to let that go. And I also want to thank our sponsor for this section, Executive Security Services, for helping underwrite tonight's debate. So let's go to the final question.
Senator Drazan, you're going to start this one. Oregon has grappled with rising property crime, retail theft, and public safety challenges in both urban and rural communities. As governor, how would you approach public safety in a way that rebuilds our community's trust while ensuring accountability in law enforcement?
We have got to hold criminals accountable. There's a whole lot of technical reasons why local governments are saying that they can't actually hold people, and I just want to say this. It's a lot of excuses, and I'm kind of tired of the excuses. Oregonians deserve to live in safe communities, and the fact that people are breaking the law, they need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. As governor, I will hold criminals accountable. I am proud to be endorsed by the Oregon Coalition of Police and Sheriffs. I have always worked closely with law enforcement throughout my public service, and I always will. I recognize that one of the most important things to all of us, for our families, is that we know that we can live in safe neighborhoods and communities, and if we want to use our parks and our streets, that we can reliably enjoy this beautiful place we call home. That requires that we enforce the laws that we have on the books.
Thank you. Mr. Chris Dudley.
This is a big issue for me as well. In my family, I have police officer. My son-in-law is a Redmond police officer, and it's something we talk about. I actually just I've done 2 ride-alongs, one in Washington County, one in Deschutes County, as well, and visiting the police academy last week. It's a key issue. One of the most important roles of the governor is keeping his citizens safe. The first way we do that is actually enforcing the laws that are on the books now. We're not doing a good job at that. We need to get better at that. And we need to embrace our officers and what they are doing and reinforce them. We are 48th in the country as far as officers per capita. That has to increase. We have to do better, and as governor, I will increase the Oregon State Police and use them as needed across our state, because we have to restore safety to our parks, to our cities, to our towns, to our forests. It's something that has to be done and will be done.
Thank you.
All right, so.
Commissioner Bethell.
Yeah, thank you. Senate Bill 48, the catch and release bill, needs to be repealed. I mean, we can talk all the day about the excuses that law enforcement or anybody in the community is making, but there's legislation in their way for them to be effective right now. We need to reform civil commitment, something that I have been the chief voice of statewide for 6 years with very difficult conversations in the legislature. We have people right now filling out on our community streets that are definitely not in their right mind, and they need stabilized in their health care, and we have laws in our way preventing us from doing that. Additionally, we need to have a governor who's going to take on the attorney general and all the ridiculous things that he is doing in office right now that prevent us from actually operating in a safe public environment. The fact that we have a long-time federal order called the Mink Order in place and right now actively allowing people to commit crimes and not hold them accountable and in collusion with the Department of Justice and the Oregon Health Authority is a problem, and the governor needs to deal with it. Public safety needs to be prioritized statewide, and it needs to be funded, and it needs to be serious in every community.
Representative Diehl.
I'll state the obvious. We need to enforce the law. I'm more of a broken windows policy guy. And our local law enforcement does not do that. I would like to see state dollars tied to specific outcomes when it comes to local law enforcement. I want to tie it to reduced business break-ins, speed of recovery if a business is broken into, those kinds of things, to make sure that there's outcomes that we expect if a city is going to be receiving state dollars related to law enforcement. Senate Bill 48 absolutely needs to be reformed. Our No Tax Oregon effort is helping Representative Mannix run a petition right now to bring that to the voters to repeal much of what Senate Bill 48 did. That's called the catch and release law. That's absolutely important. This is also personal to me. Our son is a sheriff's detective. And so I want to see respect for law enforcement, and I want to see our laws enforced. And I also want to see law enforcement cooperate with federal officials when it comes to getting criminals who are in the state illegally out of the state and deported.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Excellent. All right, well, we have covered a lot of ground tonight in the debate, and it's time for our closing statement. And candidates, I'd like to ask each of you to spend just 1 minute explaining to us or making the case for why you should be the next governor of Oregon. And we're going to go in reverse order of how we started today, just to keep it fair. That means Representative Diehl, you are up first.
All right. So I hope with the referendum effort, I've proven to Oregonians I know how to lead, I know how to rally folks, I know how to get stuff done, big things done. I've done it my entire career in business. I think we need a governor, we need a candidate that can win and go toe-to-toe against Tina Kotek. I'm going to rally more voters, more Republicans who've been sitting on the bench for a long time, about 120,000 of them sitting on the bench. They're going to come out and vote. 120,000 or so conservative-minded, non-affiliated voters who have been sitting on the bench. I'm going to give them a reason to vote. And I will work Portland like nobody has. We have a unique situation right now where there's this common ground that crosses this urban-rural divide. Taxes. Everybody's complaining about taxes. Portland is shedding jobs right now, private sector jobs. They're complaining about a lot of the things the rest of the state has. And I will remind Tina Kotek and every voter from now until Election Day what she did with that tax and fee referendum. And I will remind them, and we will get more voter turnout than ever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris Dudley, you're up next.
Well, as governor, I will use my outsider perspective and business background to take positive, decisive actions to get our schools back to the fundamentals, to increase our economy, to cut taxes on the money that you earn, the houses you live in, and the gas you put in your cars. But importantly, as we have to win this election. I am tired of the protest votes, and we have to have a candidate that can reach out and bring people together. We need an outsider. Salem has failed. Salem's problems will not be solved by somebody from Salem. I think that's become abundantly clear. We need someone who can present a vision of what Oregon can be and bring us together to get that. We need that, and Oregon can rebound. I invite you to join me. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. Come join me as we push back on the political elite, as we push back and take back our state. And let's make this state rebound and bring it to the glory it can be. Thank you.
Okay, up next, Commissioner Danielle Bethell.
So I'm obviously not the most funded candidate on this stage. I can't loan myself money, and Phil Knight did not write me a check. But I am the candidate that 100% has shown up every day for the last 6 years doing this work. I'm already doing the work of an executive. Every single question that was answered here tonight is real life things I'm doing every single day. I'm actually delivering results for Oregonians in the 5th largest population in Oregon. I can come into office on day one and do the job, but I can also stand toe-to-toe with Tina Kotek and anybody else and go directly into the weeds and tell you exactly why they're failing, because they're not just failing you, they're failing me. I understand those policies because I fight those policies every day as a commissioner, as a business owner, as a mother, and an Oregonian. I understand how this state is designed, and I can tell you at the end of the day, it shouldn't take money to win votes. It should take understanding and passion. It should take understanding of the state from every single county, corner to corner, and I am the Oregonian that can get that done.
Okay. Senator Drazan. Senator Christine Drazan.
Tina Kotek has led our state into a ditch. All she wants is more power and control. All we get are higher taxes and failed government. The number one question that we all need to be asking ourselves tonight is, who can beat Tina Kotek and make her a one-term governor? That's what matters right now. I am that candidate. I have the policy background. I have gone toe-to-toe with Tina Kotek. I have been in this fight, and I have the scars to prove it. I can lead our state. I am ready to lead. We cannot afford to squander 1 minute. When we take this governor's office, we can't afford to have somebody that has to find the bathrooms. We have got to have somebody that can hit the ground running on day one. As governor, I will fight to lower taxes. I will return local control, and I will absolutely restore accountability. I will serve the people of this Oregon, and working with you, I will make Tina Kotek a one-term governor, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, thank you, candidates. Great job tonight. We appreciate your candor and you making time in a busy campaign season, and I think Oregon's going to be in good hands as we go forward. I'm optimistic about that. 2 keynotes I want to share with you. Number 1, a reminder, the Oregon primary is May 19th. It is next month, but this is also very key. The deadline to register to vote is April 29th.
And we have a closed primary, which means you need to be a Republican if you would like to vote for one of these candidates.
Yes, on April 29th.
You can do it online. It takes 2 minutes.
April 29th is the deadline for doing that, however you're going to register. But yes, good point. So April 29th is the deadline, May 19th. April 28th? Oh, excellent. Okay, well, don't miss that. Oh, boy, I would get that wrong. Just like the forecast back in the day here.
It's 12 o'clock.
All right, so yes. April 28th is what we're talking about. That's the accurate deadline. Okay, I love it. All right, and May 19th is the primary. Thank you very much. And that's it from Hillsborough tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's hear one more round of applause for all of our candidates tonight. Let's see if we can take a selfie with them real fast. That's good. Yeah, I will.